part of the Abundant Life Blueprint, we're going to be going over the concept of rhythm trackers and getting into a good rhythm and having a system in place for staying in rhythm. Because one of the things I've seen, or two of the biggest reasons I think we all struggle, two reasons. Number one, we never get started because of all of the reasons or excuses why it's not the right time or we can't do it now, these types of things. Or number two is we get knocked out of our rhythm. You know, one of the biggest keys to success is getting into a good rhythm. And a lot of times we get started and we start moving forward, but then for whatever reason, we get busy, adversities come along, something comes along and knocks us out of our rhythm and causes us to kind of get thrown off balance. And then we don't get course corrected and get back into our rhythm as quickly as possible. So the two big things we're going to go over first is, number one, we just got to get started. And then number two, if you ever get knocked out of your rhythm, how do we get back into that rhythm as quickly as possible? And I think the way that we do that is having some built-in kind of guardrails and feedback to let me know when I'm off track, when I'm out of rhythm, and I can course correct as quickly as possible. Because if I can course correct at the end of a day and realize that I'm off track and get right back on track as quickly as possible, that's a big difference to having it be a whole month or 6 months or a year later, and now I'm way off track and I got to do a lot of work to get back on track. Just from my own experience of playing sports at a college level, the higher level you move up in sports, the faster you have to make adjustments. The higher you move up, people are making adjustments at a much faster pace. It's a sign that you're growing and maturing as you learn how to make adjustments at a faster pace. But a lot of times, just in the everyday areas of life, we're getting off track and we don't realize it and we let it slide for a while, and then it takes a while to get back to where we were. So how can we get back on track as quickly as possible? Now, not getting started. This is the first one. There's all kinds of reasons, working in the gym business, there's all kinds of reasons why people never get started. This applies to working out, it applies to nutrition, it applies to whatever, working on your purpose or projects for work, whatever it may be. We never get started. We know what to do, but we never get started. And the biggest reasons, it's not the right time, or there's a big event coming up, I'm going to wait till I get on the other side of that, whatever. It's New Year's coming up, holidays, those types of things. Or we have excuses of why we're not capable of getting started because it looks too big. We don't think we're capable of doing it. But one of the things I've learned is if we're going to be walking with God and fulfilling the purpose that He's got for us, we have to be willing to move forward and to get started when we don't have all the details. So as an example for me, I've written 4 books now. And every book that I wrote, I didn't have all the details when I got started. I heard on the inside, start writing this book. And I didn't know what all the details were, but I just got started. And it took a while. A lot of things tried to knock me out of the rhythm once I got started. But the key was you just get started. You're not going to have all the details, but you just get started anyway, and you'll figure it out as you go. This is learning how to live by faith. That, you get the nudge on the inside that you're supposed to be doing something, and you begin to take those steps, even though you don't have all the details figured out just yet. Now, the rhythm. In the Old Testament, the temple had a rhythm. You are the temple now. The rhythm is daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly. There's things that are supposed to be done in every area of your life. Finances, purpose, health, family. There's things that are supposed to be done in every area of your life. Daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly. And if you can get this rhythm established, like I said, the biggest thing it does is it puts up some guardrails and it puts up some safeguards so that if you're ever getting off track, you can course correct and get back on track as quickly as possible. So let's talk about some of the keys to this rhythm, which is, I think, 2 things. And you could say planning is a habit as well, but getting into a rhythm of planning. Miles Monroe used to say that planning is one of the greatest expressions of faith, because when you make a plan, you don't have all the details figured out usually. We try to get some certainty about it, but a lot of times we're making a plan by faith because we don't have all of the details figured out. So we want to get into a rhythm of planning, and we want to get into a rhythm of developing our habits. Maybe it's eating better, maybe it's saving money, maybe it's connecting with your spouse or your kids. We want to get into a rhythm of developing the habits that are going to be leading us to where we want to go, because we could make a plan or we could set goals, but unless we get the rhythms and habits in place to move us to where we're wanting to go, we're never going to get there. And so we got to get a combination of both of these, a good plan and good habits in place to move us to where we want to go. So when it comes to planning, here's what I've learned. First, we have to, if we're going to make a plan, I think you should have a plan for the year. You should have a plan for the month. You should have a plan for the day or for the week and a plan for the day. And your daily plan should be built off of where I'm trying to be by the end of the week. Your weekly plan should be built off of where I'm trying to be by the end of the month. And your monthly plan should be built off of where I'm trying to go by the end of the year. But we have to clear out all those reasons why we can't get started first. So we got to clear out those excuses. And one of the best ways to do that is we need to encourage ourselves. How do we encourage ourselves? Look back, if you're making a daily plan, what were your wins over the past day? Over the past day, what were your wins today? And I like to plan my day in the evening, but make my plan for the next day is the way that I typically do it. What were my wins? When I look back at the day, what were my wins? When I look back at the previous week, what were my wins? When I look back at the previous month or the year, what were my wins? Because that's going to give you some courage to take the next steps forward. And then we want to think about, what are all the little things that could keep me started? A great question to ask, like we're going to talk about here. This question has been very, very helpful to me, and you could ask this on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis. Is there anything that I feel or know that God has told me to do, or that I'm supposed to be doing? I know I'm supposed to be doing it, or I know I'm supposed to stop doing it, that I haven't taken action on yet. If you'll ask yourself that question at the end of the day or the end of the week, and you just get still for a second, and whatever comes to mind, the first thing that comes to mind, that's probably your answer. So a lot of times we just get still because sometimes we get too busy. I'm thinking of just this morning, my middle daughter, who is 6 years old, first grade, we're getting ready for school. And she's doing a lot of other things that are not what I want her to be doing. She's playing with ponies and toys and things like that. And I'm like, you need to get ready. You need to get your shoes on. You need to get your coat on because we need to leave in 5 minutes. And she's doing what she wants to do versus what really needs to be done. So a lot of times we get caught up doing all these things that are what we think we need to do when God's saying, hey, you need to be doing this thing, and we never get started on it because we either forget or we're not listening or we're not tuned in. But pay attention. All right, God, what is the thing that you've told me to do that I have not done yet? You begin to ask that question and begin taking action on that on a consistent basis, it makes a big difference. And then we're going to say, all right, what's my goal? What's my goal for tomorrow, for the end of the week? Where am I trying to be by the end of the month? And then begin to list out your criteria for success. If I was going to say tomorrow is going to be a good day, and I listed out 5, 6, 7 things, I said, if tomorrow is going to be a good day, this is what would be accomplished tomorrow. I'd have this done, I'd have this done, I'd have this done. What's your criteria for success for tomorrow, for the week, for the month, for the year? And if you consistently moving forward on those criteria for success, you're going to be moving forward with your life. So a couple of good questions to ask, I think, when you are in the process of making your plans and kind of just getting in touch on what you're supposed to be doing. Like I said, the first one, is there anything that I know I'm supposed to be doing that I have not taken action on yet? And whatever comes to mind, you'll probably not have all of the details, but you can get started anyway. Just get started and God will fill in. He needs you to take the first step of faith a lot of times, and then the waters begin to part and you begin to figure out what the details are as you get started. Next question to ask. I think you should ask this every night. This was when I started doing this every night, it started making a big difference. What buttons were pushed today? What button got pushed today that caused me to show up not as the person that I wanted to be? I got angry, I frustrated, I snapped at people. I just showed up in a way that I didn't want to be. So for example, for me, just the other day, the time when we were getting home from school with my kids and we're getting everything out of the car, we're getting everything unpacked, I'm getting everybody in the house, and they're hungry, they got homework to do, that whole process of just going through that was kind of pushing my buttons. I was kind of getting agitated and I didn't know why. So what do you do when you have these buttons that are getting pushed? Maybe it's financial pressure, maybe it's time pressure, maybe it's someone says something to you, maybe it's the kids getting home from school. What is that button that's getting pushed and you're getting agitated, frustrated, whatever it may be? You can reprogram that. If you know you're showing up in a way, it's like, why am I getting frustrated over this? If you find one of those, you can reprogram it. How do you reprogram it? First step is forgiveness. Receive forgiveness from God. God, I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm getting frustrated about this situation when we get home from school. Forgive yourself. Give yourself grace. And then thank and praise God that He put power in you to overcome that. And His grace is sufficient in your weakness. And praise Him for that. And then ask Him for help cultivating the power and having that power flow through you that He put on the inside of you. And then Whatever you get those nudges to do, just start to take action on those nudges, and you will begin to reprogram yourself at a heart level. You begin to show up in life in a different way. So a couple good questions. Is there anything I know I'm supposed to be doing that I haven't taken action on? What buttons got pushed, and did I reprogram them? And then a great question to ask is, on my criteria for success tomorrow, or for the week, or for the month, or for the year, who could help me? Because a lot of the things that you're trying to do, somebody else might have more expertise. Somebody else might be able to accelerate you. People are the greatest accelerators of results if you can find the right people. So who can help me? When you begin to make out your plan, a great question to ask just every day, who could help me tomorrow? And begin to reach out to them. Begin to reach out to them daily, weekly, monthly, these types of things. And it will make a big difference in your plans if you engage other people and get them to help you in the process. Because a lot of times people are willing to help if you'll just ask. Now, habit tracking. Like I said, I think you should be having plans of the things that you're trying to accomplish, but you also need some sort of system for tracking whether you are on track or not. And I think you should be having habits that you're trying to instill daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly. So let's take a look. I'm going to go back one step here. Take a look real quick. I'm going to show you, this is something that I use. I'm going to pull it up on the full screen here. All right, so just a daily checklist, really. Now, one of the things I've been working on as well is trying to figure out how to integrate the planning and the checklist together. But you can begin to list out in your life, what are some habits that you would want to develop? What are some habits? Maybe it's reading a proverb every day in your spiritual life. Maybe it's going for a walk with God every day. Maybe it's journaling. Maybe it's checking your cash flow and your finances. Maybe it's connecting with your spouse, whatever it may be. What habits would you want to develop on a consistent basis that you are doing every day? And just list out, you see the column here, just list out whatever habits. It might be 3 habits, it might be 5 habits, it might be 10 habits. Whatever you feel like you need to work on. And then each day, you're going to score yourself. And so what I do, the way I typically score this, is if I just didn't do it at all. So one of my habits right now, I feel like something that God has told me to do, I don't understand it fully right this second. He wants me to start learning how to play guitar. So one of my habits is practicing guitar every day. And so I put a 0. If I just didn't show up, I didn't do it at all, I put a 0. I put a 1 on my scoring if I did it kind of partially. If I just did it halfway, I just played for a couple minutes and then I put it down. It's better than nothing, but I didn't really get a whole lot out of it. I put a 1. If I showed up and I did a good session and I completed, my goal is say 10 minutes. If I did my 10 minutes, then I put a 2. But if I did my 10 minutes and I did them with joy, and I was present, because a lot of times we can do the habits, but we're just going through the motions. If I showed up with presence, then I put a 4. So I got 0, nothing. 1 is partial, 2 is I completed it, but 4 is I showed up with presence and did it with joy. So for example, could be you connected with your spouse or your kids. Well, I didn't do it at all. I kind of did it halfway. I did it, but then I did it with joy. And then number 8, I put an 8 if I see a new level or a breakthrough. So say I'm playing my guitar and all of a sudden the song just clicks and I get a lot better all of a sudden. I get one of those bursts or surges of progress. I put an 8 on my scoring for those. So I'm going to list my habit. Maybe it's playing guitar. Maybe it's stretching before bed. And all of a sudden I hit a new level in one of those. I put an 8. And I score myself as I go through the day. So I got 31 days just on this that I can score myself throughout the month. And then I'm going to have at the end of the week, what habits, what rhythms do I need to have in place? So for example, for most people, one we put on here all the time for health and fitness is what was their body weight, what was their waist measurement? So we can track that over time, because when people tend to get off track with their nutrition and things like that, they tend to neglect taking their measurements anymore, because when they're off track, they don't want to see them anymore. So what are the things that you need to have in place? Maybe it's take your body weight, take your waist measurement. Maybe it's going for a date with your spouse. Maybe it's reconciling your finances. Whatever it may be, what needs to happen on a weekly basis for you to consider yourself being on track? And then we use a monthly one. The monthly one is slightly different. What I want you to think about is every month is a fresh start. Think every month you're starting fresh. So what you're going to do here is you're going to rate yourself. You're going to use that same scoring system, 0, 1, 2, 4, or 8. And you're going to rate yourself. How was my spiritual life in the last month? I saw no growth. I saw some growth. I'm growing. Or, hey, that area is really bringing me joy is 4. And number 8 is, man, I feel like I'm really breaking through. Things are going to a new level in that area. So I'm going to rate myself: spiritual life, mindset and emotions, purpose, health, family, finances, order, time, and community. And then based on my scoring, what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to go back to my daily habits. And if everything is going good, I might just leave my habits the way they are. Or I might say, hey, I want to start working on developing a couple new habits. I'm going to reorder and make adjustments in my daily and weekly habits based on how my monthly scoring is showing up. So as an example, I had on my most recent one, I was looking at, I call it catching bids from your spouse. So when your spouse tries to connect with you, you connect with them. Well, I was also wanting to make sure that I was putting some effort into connecting with my wife. But what I was realizing was that I was trying to connect with her the way I like to be connected with, not the way she likes to be connected with. So you can talk about love languages, these types of things. For her, the most valuable thing is just being present and spending time with her and talking to her and doing things with her. That's the thing that's most valuable to her. So I needed to adjust my daily habit and get more precise with it and say, hey, did I do that for her on a consistent basis? And did I do it and show up with joy and see new levels and things like that? So I would adjust my daily and weekly habits based on, think of the monthly fruit that you're producing. In the Bible, there's all these examples of the tree of life and things like that. It says it produces a harvest every month. So what harvest is being produced in your life on a monthly basis in these 9 areas? And then you can adjust your habits and refine your habits for the month. So every month you would reset your daily and weekly habits to track them, and you make adjustments in them based on the fruit that you're producing from those habits. And then we're going to begin, is there any habits that you need to list out that need to happen monthly? Maybe you need to reconcile your finances and move money around, whatever it may be. Is there any habits that you need to install monthly into your life? And you can begin to track those as well. And that all leads to your yearly goals, which we typically list out your yearly goals. So all this is moving you forward to your yearly goals, daily, weekly, monthly, and hopefully to the yearly. All of your habits, all of your monthly fruit, all those types of things are built off of your yearly plan for the year. Now, if this is something you want to learn more about, let me find. If this is something you want to learn more about, you can go to www.abundantlifetrainingcenter.com/offer. This is a part of the Abundant Life Blueprint. The Abundant Life Blueprint is a complete system for life transformation. We're going to get you really healthy. We're going to transform your purpose, find your purpose, fulfill that purpose, build a community around you. But if you want to help with this, you want to learn more about this, you can go to www.abundantlifetrainingcenter.com/offer to learn more.